This is Queen's Park in the middle of Swindon, and in the late 1800s it used to be a quarry owned by the Swindon Brick and Tile Company. And in 1874 a man by the name of James Shopland discovered a series of fossils that turned out to be one of the largest Stegosaurs ever found, Dacentrurus. So the fossils found turned out to be the most complete stegosaur that had yet been discovered. Over 3 tons of material was sent from Swindon to Richard Owen at the British Museum for further study. It was Richard Owen that determined that the remains that had been found in Swindon were those of an armoured dinosaur, and he named it Omosaurus in 1875. It was, however, later discovered in the early 1900s that the name Omosaurus had already been given to a phytosaur, and so Frederic Lucas renamed the animal Dacentrurus in 1902. The main slab is still on display in the London Natural History Museum and contains most of the pelvis, the right femur, several vertebrae, ribs, part of the left forelimb, and a dermal plate and tail spikes. There have also been other fragmentary remains assigned to Dacentrurus found in Spain, Portugal, France, as well as other parts of the UK. As for the UK, a right forelimb was found in Gillingham in Dorset and has been tentatively assigned to Dacentrurus, as have some tail spikes found in Wootton Bassett. An interesting side note comes from the find of a pliosaur in Westbury, and the stomach contents of this animal contain the remains of 3 partially digested dermal scutes from an armoured dinosaur, possibly Dacentrurus, suggesting that this pliosaur was scavenging on a floating carcass that had been washed out to sea. So what kind of animal was Dacentrurus? Well, as already mentioned, it was closely related to one of the most famous dinosaurs of all time, Stegosaurus. However, unlike Stegosaurus, Dacentrurus appears to have been covered in spikes rather than plates, hence the meaning of its name, Dacentrurus armatus, armoured very pointy tail. This does mean that Dacentrurus would have more likely resembled an animal such as Kentrosaurus rather than Stegosaurus, only much bigger. Dacentrurus is sometimes mistaken for being a relatively small stegosaur. However, its pelvic girdle, as shown in the sample found, is about 1.5 meters wide, meaning this was a really large animal, and it's thought that a fully grown Dacentrurus would have been somewhere between 9 and 10 meters long, making it one of the biggest known stegosaurs. It lived during the Kimmeridgian age of the late Jurassic period, between 154 and 150 million years ago. Contemporary with other British dinosaurs such as Cymnoria and Durotitan, as well as from North America more famous dinosaurs of the Morrison Formation such as Stegosaurus, Allosaurus, Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus. Another interesting side note is that Dacentrurus appears to be most closely related to a Portuguese stegosaur called Miragaia. Now this dinosaur had the longest neck of any known stegosaur and contained a total of 17 vertebrae. Only 3 Chinese sauropods, Euhelopus, Omosaurus, and more famously Mamenchisaurus, had more vertebrae in their necks. So this means that, although we don't have the remains of the front part of the animal, there's a good chance that Dacentrurus was a similarly long-necked stegosaur. And that's the tale of Dacentrurus, Swindon's long-necked stegosaur.